So, Bella Thorne is a woman. I think, if we look at her Instagram here, I think that's pretty obvious from the outset. She is also a very attractive woman. She was born in 1997, and she basically started her career at an incredibly young age. And when I say incredibly young, I don't mean like in the traditional sense of a child actor or something. Like they were picked up to be in a commercial at like 9 years old or something. Lots of innuendo. Probably, hopefully. She actually began modelling first when she was like 2 weeks old. Unless I'm misremembering that to like an astonishing degree. Her career arc has been going for decades, basically as long as she's been alive. Which is pretty astonishing when you think about it. 6 weeks old. She was 6 weeks old when she began modelling. And over time, she has developed a huge career full of many different things that she does. So, she is an actress, obviously, since she was a baby. She's an actress, model, singer, director, and she recently wrote a book. So, she's quite the polymath in that regard. And recently, she decided to give a more extended grade of version of sex work a go by joining OnlyFans. OnlyFans being a site that I am not going to pull up on stream, because again, I'm really trying to skirt around the TOS. But we can have a little description from Newsweek. They can help us out. OnlyFans is an online content sharing platform that has become increasingly popular during the coronavirus lockdown. While OnlyFans creators can upload any kind of content, like photography, creative writing, or recipes, for example, the platform is particularly popular with sex workers. I'm going to make quite a bold assumption, but I pretty much assume that everyone who I interact with, at least on Twitter, already knows what OnlyFans is, even if they don't work on it or subscribe to anyone on it. It's a pretty pervasive thing. One thing I've noticed is that in my music work, there are many artists who basically make money from their music who also tend to have sidelines in sex work. I've seen it with quite a few different ones. Sometimes it actually genuinely surprises me who I see getting involved with it, because there are certain artists I can think of who have incredibly high production standards. They put out a lot of material. So my assumption has always been, well, holy shit, they must be, with this level of productivity and release, they must be doing incredibly well to be able to keep this ticking over. Now, that's obviously kind of that's quite the assumption. But apparently a lot of them do actually sideline themselves into sex work as well. And obviously sex work tends to be something that people from economically more disadvantaged backgrounds will go to, as well as people of colour and obviously LGBT people. That tends to be quite a big popular method of making money there. But considering her enormous career and fame and success, why would Bella Thorne want to join OnlyFans? She herself has a couple of ideas about it. So, let's go to Bella's Twitter. So this was in response to the backlash. This came from 2 days ago. Basically, hey Dicey, you alright mate, how you doing? You've just missed the picture of Bella Thorne. Okay, well since you're here. There we go. She's obviously someone who values body positivity, and one of the last things you can say about Bella Thorne is that she's sex negative. She, for the most part, overall has pretty positive, healthy attitudes towards sex. And on a personal note, I have to salute her because she's part of the pansexual master race. So in response to the backlash that she recently received, she said, Part 1, remove the stigma behind sex work. Sex work, and the negativities that surrounds the word sex itself by bringing a mainstream face to it. That's what I was trying to do to help bring more faces to the site to create more revenue for content creators on the site. That's a very laudable goal. And you think, okay, well, what possibly could have led to a backlash that she would have to respond to like this? Yeah, I'm the same, Dicey. I'm not feeling great either. Here is the story about what went wrong. Bella Thorne's $2 million payday as OnlyFans stars... I can't talk today. Bella Thorne's $2 million payday has OnlyFans sex stars subscribers crying scam. So this is from the 28th. Bella Thorne reportedly set records with her OnlyFans debut, but now some competitors and paying customers are calling it a big striptease. Emphasis on the tease. The former Disney princess turned porn producer... The former Disney princess turned porn producer infamously crashed the Not Safe for Work platform when she joined this week, and OnlyFans has hiked her $2 million haul in the days since. But now, some sex workers on the steamy streaming service claim the 22-year-old is cramping their paychecks. So yeah, this is a big deal, because, as I said previously, a lot of people either make money on OnlyFans as a sideline to what they're already doing, or for some people, this is actually their entire income. There isn't enough to go around. Okay, well, we'll share it out later, I guess. So it's troubling, because based on what she was saying on Twitter, she was obviously, in her mind, trying to help quite a bit. But obviously the backlash has come from the fact that she has not. And part of the reason for that is because it seems, and OnlyFans have denied this to some extent, that they've had to cap the certain amounts of tips and things like that can be paid to creators because of the massive influx of subscribers and payments that came to her. So, in a policy change allegedly made overnight, online ooglers' tips are now capped at $100, and one-time viewing fees for a post can't exceed $50. And apparently, according to one performer, no one was warned. We found out for ourselves. OnlyFans creators are worried too that they'll have to wait 30 days instead of the usual 7 to cash out their booty from the app. It's not entirely clear why this has all happened, beyond the fact that Bella apparently, it seems, just created such an influx that they had to update their rules. There's been a bit of confusion around this. I don't know if you can say is OnlyFans replacing sex, because you could say that about any form of erotica throughout history. Well, I can't comment on the overspend and gaining addictions because I'm not obviously educated enough on the topic of sex addiction, which is obviously is a real thing. But as I say, the reason it's stuck in my mind is just because I'm looking at this more from the perspective of someone who knows sex workers. And, you know, to some extent I'm slightly concerned about how this would impact upon them. And hey, if you want to get really cynical, let's just say that they're providing a service that other people want to consume. It's legal, it's consensual. So, yes, there is an issue around addiction and things like that, but personally, my mind isn't in that space. So, yeah, it's been quite the debacle. And one thing that fascinates me about this, especially her comment about how she's a mainstream face, is she's this weird kind of modern celebrity who, in some ways, she is obviously incredibly popular and incredibly famous. And when I say incredibly popular and famous, I mean it. Look at her Instagram. 23.7 million followers. So that's basically a third of the United Kingdom, more or less, follow her online, which is astonishing. But as someone who works a day job in entertainment retail, a lot of the time it does seem like that when you talk to people, if you mention the name Bella Thorne in general conversation, and not just amongst boomers, a lot of people wouldn't actually know who she is. Or if they'd heard the name, they may not be able to place her straight away. She's famous for being famous. Yeah, exactly. But as is the case that, you know, especially when I have conversation with like older relatives or something, you'll like talk about someone who is very well known online and they won't have a fucking clue who you are. And I've had conversations with people about Bella Thorne like that. It's the same with someone like Belle Delphine, for example. What was the one thing you knew her from, Bastian? I'm intrigued because I'm wondering if it's the same sort of thing I knew her from. Okay, so it's not the one that I knew her from. Netflix movie. Don't have Netflix. The thing I know her from is actually a movie I saw like last year. If I was ever going to return... I said previously, before again, I started my new YouTube channel... there was one film that would make me return to making film reviews, and it's a film that she was in, and she was actually supposed to be like one of the lead character, like the big names attached to it, even though she's in the film for like 10 minutes. It's a film called Assassination Nation. Yeah, okay. 2018 this is from. It's actually directed by the son of Barry Levinson, so it's sort of like a baby's first movie. She was in The Duff as well. I don't remember her from that. Jesus. This isn't a good film, but this film is really, really interesting for a lot of reasons. And it's also a commentary on modern social media and representation of women in society today. So this is actually a film that's worth talking about, even though in all good conscience I can't tell any of you to go and watch this film if you just want to go and watch a movie. But we're getting sidetracked, I think. So yeah, she is someone who is simultaneously very famous, insanely, almost unfathomably famous, but also not that recognisable to anyone beyond very certain contexts. And I don't know if this is unfair to say, but ultimately I think being an influencer is more what she is going to be remembered for. But she sells it incredibly well, not just from the fact that, you know, she's obviously an incredibly attractive woman, and I'm not just saying that as someone who's really into redheads, but she does have a very canny attitude to the way she markets and brands herself, and it's worked across numerous genres and mediums. In fact, she recently, or at least late last year, released a book of poems. So there is the Kindle version of it. And she's been able to pull in some interesting quotes. And again, this speaks to how good her marketing is, because the editorial reviews here on the Amazon page, some of these are actually quite funny. So she was in a TV show with Zendaya on the Disney Channel. So that's a specific... You'll always be the CC to my Rocky. That's a very specific reference to this show. But then you've got some others coming in, which I looked at and I thought, this is really sort of witty and like genius. So, Diplo, hey, I didn't read this book. Bella gave it to me and I left it on an airplane. Then there's a more positive one. Bella is one of those rare artists who is utterly fearless. Her courage to show you who she truly is, including hopes, fears and vulnerabilities, is what makes her a relevant and meaningful voice for this generation. And then we get Marilyn Manson, who is a prick. I just became illiterate after reading this, but the nude photographs were still very interesting. I don't know if it would make you illiterate from reading her work, but again, this kind of speaks to how a lot of people seem to perceive her. They will either focus on her as like an influencer or as basically a sex worker. There's a quote from Lena Dunham, that's never good. There was another one. Oh, Jessica Chastain got on in it. I haven't read Bella's book, but if it's anything like her, then you're in for a treat. This is just very... I think the reason I wanted to talk about this, seemingly something quite irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, especially considering the fact that if we literally just go to Twitter now, this is all going to be... Well, there we go. We've got J.K. Rowling, which isn't good. Fascism is pretty much arriving in America now. It's pretty much there. Tim Pool's very excited about the incoming civil war. I needed to talk about something else, and this just stuck with me for some reason. I really can't think why. It feels all fake, but that's the thing. I think that's what's so interesting about this, is because it's so hard to define what is and isn't sincere about what's going on. Is her sex positivity, for example, is that a result of a genuine set of standards and beliefs that she holds, or is it just part of the way she can market herself as an influencer and a celebrity? You know, is it actually more self-interested specifically than anything else? Because I do have to wonder, if she was not this attractive, how much of this success would she have had this amount of success? Do you know what? I try not to be too cynical, Dicey, but I actually agree. The book contributes to that fakeness. I haven't read the book, so I can't judge the book. I don't want to just assume it's not very good. But the fact that she has written the book, regardless of its quality or not, speaks to, again, marketing, because it's another string added to her bow. So now she is a model, actress, musician, model, author. It's very strange. And the other thing that she also is a porn producer. Let's see if I can find it. And when I say it, I don't mean the actual film, because I'm not going onto Pornhub. But she produced a film for Pornhub. Where is it? Yeah. In August 2019, Pornhub announced that Thorne would make her directorial debut on its network. The film, Him and Her, was screened at the Oldenburg Film Festival, September 11th to 20th, 2019. In November 2019, Thorne won a Vision Award at the second annual Pornhub Awards in Los Angeles for the film. In her acceptance speech, Thorne revealed a partnership with Pornhub to implement a change in the company's flagging algorithm. Do I think there's such a thing as beautiful privilege? Yes. Yeah, I do, actually. I think because of... I mean, obviously it changes between cultures. There are different standards that different parts of the world, different nations, etc., establish as what is beautiful. You're always going to get more attention, and I'm sure there's probably been research done into this. But yeah, I pretty strongly believe that beauty privilege is a thing. You know, you're more likely to be... I wouldn't be surprised if you're more likely to be successful if you're an attractive man or woman or NB or whatever. Because it puts you ahead. And exactly the point I was making a little while ago. Would she have been this successful if she wasn't this pretty? And it's, you know, I've seen her in films. She's not a bad actress. And a lot of her sincerity in terms of, like, the things she supports, like Humane Society's Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, things like that. This isn't just some, you know, EFOT, as the incel crowd might call her. But at the same time, I can't quite get a measure on what she actually is. And it's not just because, again, she has so many strings to her bow. In some ways, Bella Thorne doesn't seem that real to me. Like, it's all artifice. More so than any other celebrity I can think about at the moment. In fact, the closest figure I've been able to consider relating her to throughout these recent events, she feels like something a focus group would come up with. Yes. Yeah. And it's a genius of her branding, of her approach to doing things. Because she is definitely part of that focus group. And I probably should add that I'm not making a value judgment here. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Bella Thorne. I'm not anything wrong with her brand or anything she's doing. My biggest complaint in terms of this whole issue is what happened with OnlyFans specifically and how it's affected others. Because if she was just doing her wares, if she was writing her book, she was making movies, etc., just doing pretty much normal celebrity things, who gives a shit? It's the game. But in trying to apparently do something worthwhile, she's actually potentially led to a material harm. Yeah. The thing is, though, Bastian, it was a massive misfire. That's the serious issue here. And I don't even know how, you know, far-reaching the effects are going to be. OnlyFans seem, from what I've read anyway, they've seemed pretty confused about their messaging in terms of why the caps have changed and all of the other rules relating to the payout schedules and stuff. It just seems really weird because they did deny that it was to do with her coming onto the platform and having this enormous unprecedented success. But, causation, correlation, whatever, it's still incredibly curious that these two things lined up that perfectly. But yeah, I'm fascinated by her. And again, not just because I like redheads. I actually genuinely think she's incredibly interesting. But my perspective on this, as I was about to say, was changed because she actually reminded me of someone else. Another online figure who is incredibly successful, specifically in sex work, more particularly. And also this is someone who I can kind of consider a peer of mine, I guess, because this person, she is also a Twitch streamer. If you can call me a Twitch streamer. She is gorgeous. She is. Do you think this person is gorgeous, Bastian? Look at that. That's some fine 3D modelling. Do you know who this is? No. This is Project Melody. Now, in a weird way, considering the recent adventures of your husband, the 6 degrees of separations thing, you're actually 2 steps from this person. Because Project Melody has actually appeared on stream with Destiny, who I believe there is a very lovely picture of Destiny with your husband. So let's try and find this. Yeah. Stick with me, this is going somewhere. As much as anything I produce goes somewhere. Yeah, Relage Charlotte. So yeah, here we are. So this is, it's not called the Raj Lorette anymore because the Twitch streamer Raj Patel is now called Austin. But here is Stephen Bonnell, before he was encouraging rednecks to kill protesters. And here is Project Melody. And this show here is basically, it's like a dating program essentially. So Melody is the person whose affections these other people are trying to win, and they get whittled down one by one until there's only one person left. Stephen didn't win, so I'm sure he cried himself to sleep that night. But yeah, so this is Project Melody. Project Melody is interesting for another couple of reasons. One of them is the obvious fact you might have noticed that I've been referring to her as an actual person since I started talking about her. At this point, no one's a Destiny fan, I hope. In regards to beauty privilege, I always like to quote Frank Zappa, there's always more ugly motherfuckers out there, so watch over your shoulder. Nice. Bastian, you're a fucking legend. I was just about to start talking about Vocaloids. Yeah. And Vocaloids is something we are going to talk about again on this channel in the future because I have a massive interest in them. A friend of mine is a Vocaloid producer, and I am unironically a huge Hatsune Miku fan. Like, I really love Vocaloid music. But Project Melody is not a musician. She is, besides a Twitch streamer who does play games, mainly hentai games, she is also on Chatterbait. She is a sex worker. And even though it's more, centered around her, that's where her sort of money comes from, specifically, or indeed the people who created and produce her work. She had a similar controversy to Bella Thorne not too long ago. In fact, it's astonishing how close the two stories were related because essentially what happened was, with Bella Thorne, you had someone outside coming into an industry well established, which a lot of people depend on for their livelihoods, coming in and completely mixing everything up. And more or less the same thing happened when Project Melody was created. You know. Basically, the creators of Project Melody, DigiTrevX, wanted to essentially create an artificial intelligence cam girl. That's what Melody is. And she wound up on Chatterbait, and then she started appearing on Twitch to do streams, game streams and stuff. And she was partnered right with her first stream. She became partner almost straight away. Which, again, is pretty astonishing. And she's created controversies because, you know, she was suspended eventually because there was like a digital vibrator visible on her bed. So there was all sorts of issues around not safe for work content. But yeah, the controversy that really relates most here relates to her impact on the industry that she ended up coming into. So, this is from February 2020. This 3D hentai cam girl is so popular, she's jeopardising the career of humans. A 3D hentai character has begun amassing a significant following online by streaming on cam girl sites. But the new phenomenon has real-world models questioning what the future holds. The virtual female avatar known as Project Melody was created by American animator who goes by the handle DigiTrevX. What part don't you get, Dicey? Let me try and help you. I think I'm older than you, so I might be able to help. We might be able to share in our confusion. You don't get the attraction. Did you ever have a crush on like a cartoon character when you were young? Because I can remember, hey, we might be getting into some, you know, deep psychoanalysis here. I can remember like one of my first crushes was Disney's Robin Hood. Like, you can still have a character, you know, someone who's obviously not real, a figure like that, and still project, you know, either romantic or sexual urges onto them, you know. It tends to be the way these things work. It's also the simple fact, I think... Get out of my head. Not really. Okay, well maybe this doesn't say anything good about me, because... Yeah, I think Bastian's actually right. I don't know. I look back on Robin Hood now and I have very strange thoughts about it. Yeah, exactly. Look at him. Look at that face. He's so cool. You know. There's like rough twink energy there. It's great. But I mean, Dicey, in a second we can go on and have a look and see if there's any articles or anything that might give like a deeper idea into why people would be attracted to things like this. Why do people like hentai? Why do people like, you know, anime girls and anime guys? But yeah, anyway, so let's try and find the controversy here. So Project Melody's actions are dictated in real time by artificial intelligence thanks to the video game software Unity. Physics, speech, her eyes, eyebrows, all the way down to her fingers are real time. This gives her complete control to respond to her viewers. Yeah, Disney's Robin Hood was ground zero for furries. So yeah, as with music like Vocaloids like Hatsune Miku, obviously a lot has gone into this that beyond literally just making a model. You know, this melody is designed to respond almost like a human being. So Project Melody garnered 8,000 subscribers on YouTube in the last month, and adult cam website Chatterbait, where the character has created a significant surge in interest. So again, like Bella Thorne, Project Melody basically put a bomb under the website. She drew a lot of eyeballs, brought in a lot of money, but did obviously raise the concerns of a lot of people who were already there, especially those who make a living from it. This is training AI for sex robots, I swear. How do you feel about the concept of AI sex robots, Dicey? How do we feel about that? Well, it's the uncanny valley thing, isn't it, Bastian? The same way I feel about condoms. Do I want to ask you to expand on that? Because I am curious, but I'm not sure where it's going to go. Disposable. Expand. Nice. I was going to say, could we try and keep it a bit more mature here, but then I realised that this is me and this is my channel, so that's not going to happen. The 3D avatar's popularity is leading some streamers, like cam model Lennox May, to question whether Project Melody even belongs on sites like Chatterbait. There's a huge gap in vulnerability, and what that means emotionally for human models versus Melody is also quite vast, May told Motherboard. A model has to keep up appearances when they have trolls in their room, or when they're put in an awkward situation with a customer who is being rude or asking for things that we do not feel comfortable doing. So again, very material difference there. Obviously something which can be sidestepped if you're using AI cam girls. This is something that's not going to come up, and it would obviously make them more resilient in that marketplace and so more manipulatable. You know, you'd be more confident as a subscriber going in, assuming that you could get Melody to do things that a normal cam girl couldn't. That could, not to be cute, get dicey. It reminds me of Westworld. Yeah, I can see that. Because again, it does come to the thing of like, how advanced does Melody have to get? You know, she's obviously not going to go Skynet anytime soon, but it does bring up those issues, especially because she is designed to interact as real as we're able to at the moment. Questions have been raised at how Project Melody was even approved for Chatterbait, which requires all models to provide government-issued ID to verify their age. Chatterbait has thus far declined to release a statement on the matter. Now, an interesting thing about this is, if I remember correctly from the Austin Show stream, in character, I think Melody is only 19 years old. There's also the violence, exploitation, creep towards non-consent interaction being normalised. Yeah, exactly. In fact, the model for Melody, I think, on Chatterbait is basically there are certain commands you can input to stimulate her in certain ways. So you have very direct control. But this issue about ID and verification of age, you know, it's the classic meme about the 800-year-old dragon girl in anime. You know, she looks like a 14-year-old, but she's secretly 800 years old. I think this has the same energy to it. Overall, from a scientific and technology perspective, I think that Project Melody is genius, but it needs to be presented to the world in a way that is still fair to everyone else. Despite concerns from some, it remains to be seen what effect 3D characters will have on the webcam industry. Given that hentai is such a niche interest, it's also unknown whether Project Melody is actually taking viewers away from humans on Chatterbait or simply bringing in new ones. But with technology evolving at a rapid pace, the concept of a more human-like avatars one day replacing actual humans on cam sites isn't out of the realm of possibility. Hey, Lazy Gross. That sort of makes the Bella Thorne thing a little more gross. Why? What do you mean, Bastian? Do you want to expand on that? I think I get what you're saying, but I just want to make sure. Yeah, exactly, because she's packaging herself in a certain way that is more mainstream, but also with implications to the vulnerable. Yeah, I'll agree with that. But the thing that keeps getting stuck in my mind is the simple fact that, and again, I don't, it feels kind of, I feel kind of uncomfortable saying it, but in some ways, I see, you know, the parallels stick out too much here. You know, the image, the icon, the avatar of Bella Thorne, and Melody. You know, Melody's content is obviously explicitly directed towards her sexuality, and Bella isn't, even though it's heavily, you know, marketed. It's a big part of her brand. But this still just sticks in my mind. It really does. Marylinification, yeah. Separation of the image from the person, yeah. And in both instances, the people behind it are geniuses. You know, the creators of Melody and Bella herself, and obviously she has people working with and behind her as well. But I think one of the things I actually do respect about Bella Thorne is how she has been able to create, you know, establish herself as an entity online like this. You know, I think there's even been some... the story's been kept going about her OnlyFans misadventure based on someone claiming that she's going to make a film about it, or someone's had to deny that they're going to make a film about it. It all got very confusing. You know, it's suddenly there's this additional layer to it. I'm going to open a new window and take it into the other monitor because I'm going to search Bella Thorne OnlyFans again, and I'm worried about the consequences. Because, boy, imagine what happened if I clicked on the images. Yeah, so as bad as this might have been to her reputation, she's still able to get more publicity from it. Indie filmmaker Sean Baker says he isn't making any kind of movie about Bella Thorne and her record-breaking debut on OnlyFans. So she's been out here apologising and trying to explain for herself. And yet, you know, other people are still being able to generate publicity off the back of it. And even that, you know, even though this filmmaker is denying that he's involved, he's still managed to he's been able to get something from it. And again, that's kind of incredible to me. God, I love this rabbit hole.